Most people believe that if they have a steady job, a good paycheck, and a bank account large enough to cover their bills, they are financially secure. They believe that stability means having enough income today. They believe that a high salary is the same thing as financial freedom. And they believe that as long as the money keeps coming in, they are safe. But the Bible does not call that security. The Bible calls that dependency. Because a person can earn a high income, a very high income, and still be one phone call away from financial collapse. Not because they are careless, not because they are lazy, but because their entire financial life is standing on a single pillar, and when that one pillar shakes, everything built upon it begins to tremble. A company can lay you off without warning. An entire industry can be disrupted overnight. Your largest client can walk away without explanation. A market can freeze. A diagnosis, a family crisis, a global event. Any of these can change everything in a single night. And here is what makes this so sobering. Most people do not fall into financial ruin because they never earned enough money. They fall because they only had one place for money to flow in. One stream, one source, one door. And when that door closed, there was no other way through. More than 3,000 years ago, in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 2, a piece of ancient financial wisdom was written down like a quiet warning. Give a portion to 7, or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. Now, many people read this verse and think only of generosity of giving to others. And yes, generosity is woven into this passage. But if you sit with this verse long enough, if you read it through the lens of a man who had seen enormous wealth, vast enterprises, royal influence, and the full range of human fortune, you begin to see something far deeper here. This is not merely a call to be charitable. This is an ancient financial blueprint. This is a warning from wisdom itself. The prudent person does not place their entire future into a single basket. They do not stake their family on a single paycheck. They do not rest all hope on a single investment. They do not let their entire financial destiny depend on a single open door. In this teaching, you will explore what I call the 7 portions rule, drawn from Ecclesiastes 11:2, and why the truly wise person does not only ask, "How much am I earning?" but also asks, "If one stream disappears tomorrow, do the others keep me standing?" And before we go any further, let me be clear about what this is not. This is not a get-rich-quick formula. This is not advice to take on 7 jobs until you collapse from exhaustion. This is not a prosperity theology pitch. This is a lesson about stewardship, about the kind of faithful, thoughtful management of resources that allows a person to weather the storms they cannot predict, because they prepared in the seasons they could not afford to waste. Now, before we look at the ancient wisdom, we need to be honest about the modern mistake, because most people are making it right now, and many of them do not even realize it. The most common belief about financial problems is this: I just don't earn enough. And while that is sometimes true, it misses the deeper issue entirely, because the reality is that many people who earn a great deal of money are still deeply anxious, still drowning in debt, still only one unexpected expense away from panic. Not because their income is too low, but because their financial structure is too fragile. They have one job, one salary, one major client, one core skill, one investment, one plan, and they look at that single structure and call it stability. But true stability is not what you have when everything is going well. True stability is what remains when something stops going well. Think about the professional earning a high salary who bought a large home, leased a luxury vehicle, and built a lifestyle on credit. From the outside, they look successful, but strip away that one income source for 60 days, and the entire picture begins to collapse. Or consider the small business owner whose single largest client accounts for 80% of their revenue. That client does not just represent income. That client represents the oxygen the business breathes. When they leave, the business does not just lose money. It loses the ability to survive. Or think of the investor who put everything into a single asset class because someone they trusted said it was a sure thing. When the market turned, they had no fallback, no cushion, no other position. The danger, you see, is not simply that you have one income stream today. The danger is that you believe that one stream will always be there tomorrow. Income can be high, and the structure can still be catastrophically weak. And a weak structure does not announce itself, it waits for a storm. So here are 4 questions every person watching this should sit with honestly. If you lost your primary income source in the next 90 days, what would actually happen? If your industry changed or disappeared, do you have a second skill that still has value in the marketplace? If your largest client or employer walked away, is there another revenue source that could sustain you? And if your primary investment dropped significantly, do you have any other financial cushion in place? The wise person does not wait for disaster to arrive before beginning to prepare. The wise person prepares during seasons of peace because they understand that seasons of peace do not last forever. This brings us back to Ecclesiastes 11:2. And I want you to really hear this verse again, not as a religious nicety, but as a piece of deeply practical wisdom. Give a portion to 7, or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. The core of this instruction is not ambition. It is not greed. The core is humility before an uncertain future. The arrogant person says, "I know exactly what tomorrow holds." The wise person says, "I do not know what tomorrow holds, and so I will prepare accordingly today." In the thought world of the Hebrew scriptures, the number 7 often represents completeness, fullness, wholeness. And then the verse adds something remarkable, or even to 8. This is not an accident. The wise person does not stop at what seems sufficient. They build in a margin. They leave room for the unexpected. They do not optimize for the best-case scenario. They prepare for the scenario they cannot predict. The voice of Ecclesiastes sounds like someone who has seen everything: great wealth and its vanity, seasons of abundance and seasons of scarcity, the rise and fall of enterprises and empires. This is not bitter advice from someone who never succeeded. This is sober counsel from wisdom that has lived long enough to know that everything under the sun is subject to change. A wise farmer does not plant all his seed in a single field. A wise merchant does not load all his cargo onto a single ship. A wise family does not build every financial hope on a single income. A wise steward does not let the entire future rest on a single pillar. And here is the critical distinction. This principle is not about chasing every opportunity. It is not a license for financial recklessness or frantic diversification. The Bible is not telling you to scatter your energy in 12 directions at once. It is not telling you to take on so many projects that your family, your health, and your spirit suffer for it. What Ecclesiastes is teaching is responsible allocation, not scattered chaos, but deliberate wisdom. Not running after every open door, but building a structure that does not collapse when one door closes. So instead of asking, "How do I earn more faster?" the wise question becomes, "How do I make my financial structure less fragile?" Instead of asking, "Which opportunity has the highest return?" the deeper question is, "Which structure helps my family stand through many seasons?" This is the 7 portions rule, not the rule of greed, but the rule of the faithful steward who knows that tomorrow is not in their hands, but today's preparation is. The first stream of income is the most foundational, and it is the one most people already have: earned income from labor. Your salary, your profession, your daily work, your trade, your skill applied in service to others. And I want to say something directly here, because many people who hear about building multiple income streams immediately begin to look down on their primary job as something beneath them. as if working for someone else is a lesser form of existence, and only passive income or entrepreneurship truly counts. But the Bible does not treat labor that way. Work is not something shameful. Work is part of stewardship. Your primary job is the first field that God placed in your hands to cultivate, and a person who is unfaithful in that first field rarely proves faithful in the fields that follow. The question is not whether you should have a primary income from labor. The question is whether you are treating that labor as a depreciating asset or as a growing one. Are you developing your skills each year? Are you becoming more valuable, more reliable, more capable? Because when your primary skill is strong, transferable, and not entirely dependent on a single employer, you have already begun to reduce your vulnerability. A skilled accountant who deepens their knowledge of financial analysis can consult beyond their salaried role. A teacher who builds educational material can serve learners beyond a single classroom. A technology professional who builds cross-market skills is not trapped in one company's future. The guiding principle here is simple but profound. Before you pursue the seventh stream, make sure the first stream is strong, honest, and genuinely valuable. Do not abandon or neglect your primary work in pursuit of something louder and more exciting. And ask yourself regularly, what skills do I have that would still be valuable if I left my current position tomorrow? The second stream flows from secondary skills, the abilities, gifts, and knowledge you carry that are not fully expressed in your primary role. Writing, design, consulting, teaching, coaching, craftsmanship, technical services, content creation, analysis, repair, management. These are skills that often sit dormant, underused, waiting to be applied in service to others. In the parable of the talents, the issue was never about who had the most to begin with. The issue was about who was faithful with what they were given. The servant who buried his talent did not lose money first. He lost growth first. He chose safety over faithfulness. And the outcome was not what he expected. The skills you carry are not yours to hoard. Someone who edits video well can take on small projects outside their main work. Someone who understands spreadsheets deeply can create templates that save small businesses real money. Someone who understands personal finance can build educational content that serves people who desperately need it. Someone with skilled hands can offer services in their local community that meet genuine needs. But I want to offer a warning here that matters deeply. Do not let a secondary income stream become an idol. Do not let side work destroy your marriage, steal your rest, or hollow out your spiritual life. A good secondary stream should not make you a slave to a chaotic schedule. And please do not begin this journey by borrowing large amounts of money to project the image of an entrepreneur before you have proven that anyone actually needs what you offer. Start small. Verify real demand. Earn income before you expand. The goal is not to appear busy. The goal is to become genuinely useful and to do it in a way that is sustainable, not spectacular. The third stream is what I would call asset-based income, the kind that comes not from what you do, but from what you own and have built. Interest, dividends, rental income, royalties, digital products, tools and systems that generate revenue. This is where many people place all their financial aspirations. But it is also where some of the most dangerous traps are laid. The modern person often spends money to look wealthy. The wise person uses money to build stability. That distinction is everything. One person buys things that make them appear successful. The other person builds things that help their family become less fragile. A family that sets aside a portion of income consistently and learns to invest with understanding and patience is building an asset stream. A creator who turns knowledge into a course, a book, or a digital resource is building an asset stream. An entrepreneur who invests in tools that increase productivity rather than status symbols is stewarding wisely. But understand this clearly. An asset that produces cash flow is fundamentally different from an asset that only produces an image. An expensive car does not pay your bills. A luxury item rarely returns value to your household. And an investment you do not understand is not necessarily an asset, it may simply be gambling dressed in financial language. The wise person does not ask, "Does this make me look successful?" The wise person asks, "Does this help me manage better what has been entrusted to me?" Distinguish clearly between what increases your stability and what increases your burden. Build the emergency fund before you chase high returns. Start small and let growth be real before you scale. The fourth stream is one that most financial conversations overlook entirely: the income that flows from reputation and relationships. Not every income stream begins with capital. Many of the most significant opportunities in a person's financial life begin with trust. The Bible speaks repeatedly about the value of a good name, of faithfulness in small things, of words that can be relied upon, of honest dealing. And in the real world, a strong reputation opens doors that money alone cannot buy. Referrals, partnerships, projects, clients, new opportunities. These often come not because of credentials or marketing, but because someone saw how you handled the last thing you were given. A person who does what they say they will do, who delivers what they promised, who does not exaggerate their abilities or deceive their clients, will be recommended more, trusted more, and given more access over time. A salesperson who is scrupulously honest may earn less in a single transaction than one who stretches the truth. But over a lifetime, the honest person builds a kind of compounding trust that no manipulation can replicate. A business owner who keeps their commitments can often survive difficult seasons simply because people still want to work with them. The warning here carries enormous weight. Do not burn your reputation for fast money. Do not make promises you cannot keep. Do not use faith as a marketing strategy or turn the Bible into a sales pitch for personal gain, because a person who loses money can rebuild. But a person who loses their good name may lose the very doors through which blessing was meant to flow. Build your reputation as if it were a sacred asset, because in the economy of wisdom it is. The fifth stream is knowledge, not information, but wisdom that has been converted into useful action. Knowledge alone is not income, but knowledge consistently applied is what separates the person who sees opportunity from the person who is perpetually confused by change. A person without financial understanding can receive a significant windfall and lose it within years. A person with wisdom can start with very little and build something that lasts. Someone who learns to budget actually knows where their money is going. Someone who understands debt recognizes the traps before they step in them. Someone with even a basic grasp of investing will not be easily seduced by promises of unrealistic returns. But let me be precise about something. Information is not the same as wisdom. Information tells you more. Wisdom helps you live better. And the person who spends every month buying new courses, consuming new content, jumping from one financial guru to the next, without ever applying what they have learned, that person is not building a stream of income. They are building a very expensive illusion of progress. Learn one financial concept per month. Apply it before you move to the next. Read Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, and let the ancient principles shape how you actually make decisions. Write down one thing you will do differently because of what you have learned. Knowledge only becomes a productive stream when it is converted into action that genuinely serves others and strengthens your stewardship. The sixth stream is generosity. And I know that may sound counterintuitive in a conversation about building income, but Ecclesiastes 11:2 is set within a broader context of wise distribution, of giving portions to many places, because the future is uncertain. And the Bible's vision of financial wisdom is never only about accumulation. It is also about planting. The faithful steward does not only ask, "How much can I keep?" They ask, "What is this resource serving?" Giving generously to those in genuine need, to communities, to the next generation, to the work of building others up, is not a drain on your financial life. Done with wisdom and discipline, it is part of what keeps the heart of a steward aligned with purposes larger than personal security. This does not mean giving without wisdom. It does not mean lending money under emotional pressure and destroying your household in the process. It does not mean using generosity to appear spiritual while lacking financial discipline underneath. Generosity done well requires the same wisdom as every other financial decision. Give with intentionality. Give in ways that lift people up rather than create dependency. Set healthy boundaries and give quietly, faithfully, without seeking credit or recognition. The Bible does not teach us to be stingy, but it also does not teach us to be financially irresponsible. True generosity and true wisdom walk together. And this brings us to the 7th and 8th portions, because Ecclesiastes does not stop at 7. It says, give a portion to 7, or even to 8. That 8th portion is the margin, the buffer, the reserve. And in a world of financial advice that glorifies aggressive growth and constant deployment of capital, the wisdom of the 8th portion is profoundly countercultural. The emergency fund is not weakness. The cash reserve is not wasted capital. The contingency plan is not a failure of faith. It is wisdom with skin on it. A family with 6 months of living expenses set aside will respond to a job loss in a completely different emotional and practical register than a family that has been living paycheck to paycheck on credit. A business with reserves does not panic when one quarter underperforms. A person with a transferable second skill does not spiral into despair when their industry shifts. Joseph stored grain during 7 years of abundance in order to survive 7 years of famine. That was not a lack of faith. That was stewardship at the highest level. Proverbs tells us that the wise person sees danger and takes cover, while the simple person walks straight into it and suffers the consequences. Preparing is not the opposite of trusting God. It is one of the forms that trust takes. There are storms that do not come to destroy you. They come to reveal what your financial structure is actually built on. They come to show whether you have been building on a foundation of wisdom or on a foundation of assumptions that have never truly been tested. So build your emergency fund before you pursue aggressive investment. Reduce consumer debt. Do not let fixed expenses consume every dollar you earn. Sit down and honestly list your financial risks. Job loss, illness, reduced revenue, unexpected costs. And then address them. Not all at once, not in a panic, but step by step, steadily, with the calm discipline of someone who has decided to be a faithful steward rather than a hopeful gambler. So, let us bring this together. The 7 portions rule, drawn from Ecclesiastes 11. 2 is not an invitation to chase money. It is a warning against blind dependency. The wise person does not place their entire future on a single salary. They do not stake their family on a single opportunity. They do not rest all hope on a single investment, or assume that any single season of prosperity will last indefinitely. They give a portion to 7, and also to 8, because they have accepted a profound truth. Disaster on this earth does not announce itself in advance, but this principle does not come from fear. It comes from stewardship. The faithful manager understands that everything they have been given does not ultimately belong to them. It has been entrusted to them to manage well, to work diligently, to learn wisely, to avoid dangerous debt, to build skills, to create assets, to guard their reputation, to give faithfully, and to prepare for seasons they cannot see coming. The question the world asks is, how do I get more? The question wisdom asks is, how do I manage better what has already been given to me? Because before wealth can be multiplied, wisdom must first be built. If this teaching helped you see money through a wiser lens, subscribe to the Biblical Wealth Code. This channel is not about get-rich-quick schemes or financial hype. It is about recovering the ancient principles of money, stewardship, labor, debt, generosity, and lasting wealth through the lens of Scripture. Subscribe for more wisdom drawn from thousands of years of tested truth, and carry this with you. Do not simply pray for more. Become a more faithful steward of what you already hold today. Because the path to lasting financial wisdom does not begin with a larger income. It begins with a more faithful heart.